All right, hey, welcome back. I've got a third video here with on-ramp session number 3. And in this session, I usually cover the basics of the clean. Now, here's kind of how I write it on the board. I explain to them what the clean is, maybe demo a movement with PVC pipe or a med ball, just showing them how the movement pattern, but also like the purpose of the clean to get something from the floor to our shoulders. And I explain that it can really be anything, a barbell, dumbbells, kettlebell, a ball, and try to, connect it with something outside the gym as well in real life. Also explain that it's an Olympic lift, and if they've kind of ask if they're familiar with it, if they've seen Olympic lifting or anything like that. Sometimes they have, sometimes they haven't. So this is kind of how I write it up on the board. I put the high hang, floor as the starting positions, and then the muscle, the power, the squat as the finishing positions. And I kind of go over this briefly, and I just kind of help them see or some of the complexity, just kind of explain that it is a complex movement, that there's a lot of variations. You can mix and match any of these starting and finish positions, and kind of explain that the farther down you go, the complexity increases, but also the potential to lift more weight onto our shoulders. So warm up, usually for this session, I'd have them jump on a rower, and it's just kind of review the squat, maybe the deadlift, the hinge briefly, and then we'll start with some body weight drills, a med ball, and possibly a barbell. Now, kind of the purpose for this session is, or the goal would simply be that the new member is able to perform the movement pattern with the clean. And basically the movement pattern is kind of a jump with the drop, and just kind of practicing timing of the elbow bend or not bending too soon, not bicep curling, getting hip extension versus dropping too soon, just some basic things like that. So I'll have them start with just some body weight drills. We'll start with like the drop. So I'll have them get up on their toes, shrug, and then drop, punching elbows forward and nice and high, thumbs to shoulders. I watch for elbows going out here. We want to correct that. I watch for footwork. I don't get super detailed with footwork at this point. Just getting them comfortable with that quick drop, a solid landing, not a soft landing. After practice with that, once they're doing that well consistently, we'll add the jump like that. Again, really cueing them to squeeze their butt and shrug before they change directions and go back down. Once you're good with that, we'll kind of take a med ball and go through the exact same routine. First with the drop, watching here that they're not lifting the ball any higher, but that they're dropping to meet it, and that their palms are kind of rotating versus spinning the ball. And then we'll just simply drop it down between the knees and work on hip extension, kind of floating, getting the ball to kind of float. And here's a little drill that I use sometimes if they struggle with curling or the ball getting away from them. We'll do this. I'll just say, okay, just dip and then kind of pop the ball out of your fingertips without bending your elbows. Okay? And then when it's floating, I'll have them drop for the catch. That kind of separates the hip extension with the drop and the elbow bend, working on that timing. So That's pretty much the progression I use, and most are able to not master, but at least get consistent with the movement pattern. If they've done cleans before, maybe they had some CrossFit experience, at this point I would take a bar, probably an empty barbell, and work on very similar drills starting at the top or with a dip high pull. And here's where I'll kind of bring in the different positions now. I don't flood them with all of these positions at once, but I will practice maybe the high hang, high pull, high hang, muscle clean, high hang, power clean. If they're more experienced with it, I might have them go for hang, power cleans, maybe add a little bit of weight if they're doing really well. If they're in 4 sessions, if this is kind of their only exposure to cleans, I'll take a little bit farther with it. If they're in the 8 sessions, I won't go quite as deep, but I'll focus more on fine-tuning the movement pattern, and then second time through, session 6, will be a little bit deeper in the cleans and the positions. So I just don't want to overwhelm them with all the positions and too much practice that will confuse them. And then kind of the secondary movement for this session can be kind of a push-pull review. It could be wall balls, kind of depending where they're at with the push press. I'll add a little bit of weight on a barbell this time and really focus again on the vertical dip, vertical drive, and overhead lockout, keeping the ribs tucked forward. So those are some things to kind of review, and then we'll go into like 3 rounds of some rowing, some power cleans. And here I'll have them practice. I'll have them do 1 round with maybe a med ball, and then introduce maybe the dumbbell power clean just so they get used to the movement with different objects. So that's session 3. I will see you in the next video.